In working with our clients, we really do understand and see a lot of differences when it comes to generational differences, cultural differences, values differences. And that can sometimes create difficult, but also very progressive conversations in the work that we do at Sagient. So I'm curious as to how those kind of topics manifest from a clinical perspective.
We talked about nature and nurture earlier. We come into the world with kind of our nature, our wiring, but I would say most psychologists would suggest that more so we become who we are through our nurture, through our experiences and our environment. And what shapes our environment is psychosocial, emotional. And what goes into that is things like the generation we're born into, like someone who is a baby boomer versus a millennial versus Gen Z is going to have a different story or a different culture that they've grown up in around these things like money, the influences and the way that the world is in the time that you're coming of age shapes your life. And so we can't take away the context in which we've grown up. Now, that's also true when we really think of our cultural diversity or identity and also about our gender. We can't pretend that it's the same to grow up as a man than a woman in terms of the influences and messaging around money. One example is I hear in my sessions that men again and again will say, I need to be the provider and protector. That messaging runs so deep, and there's something really tied to their masculinity. But times are changing. Women are actually starting to make more than men. Women are starting to make more. So we're going to start having some differences there. And so we have to really look at that. As things change, as life changes, how do we look at our identity and our role and our worth as things change? We can never go into talks about finances without considering the core family of origin, the culture in which we grow up in, the generation in which we live, the influences at that time in order to really understand each individual's ideas about money. And so that's an important part of our conversations always. It's different for everybody. It's very unique to each person.
Absolutely. And certainly in our practice, and something that Sagent really strives to achieve every time is getting behind that question of, okay, what does that mean to you? You mentioned now women are earning more. We speak to a lot of women who are the breadwinners now, which completely changes that more traditional dynamic. And so to have those conversations of, okay, this is where your family systems is at right now. What does that mean to you? And how do we make sure that the plan is in alignment to be geared towards the goals that have shared with us? Very important conversations to
Yeah.
have.